British couple arrived at court in a police van to face punishment for killing their children. A judge sentenced Mick Philpott to life behind bars for the deaths of 6 of his children who died in a house fire in England last summer.
Mick Philpott was born in 1956 in Derby, England. He became infamous for fathering 17 children with different women. If you think he had so many children because he cared for them, you would be wrong. He had almost no nurturing qualities. In fact, he was a violent and unpredictable man. His harmful behaviour towards women and children began with his first relationship at age 19. He charmed a 15-year-old named Kim Hill, and they started dating soon after. At first, Kim saw Philpott as a great partner, but it didn't take long for his abusive side to emerge. His violence was so extreme that he even hit her in public. One time, while they were at a pub, Philpott struck Kim across the mouth with a pool cue, leaving her bleeding badly, but no one intervened to help her. He found any excuse to hurt her. For example, he once broke her arm and fractured her kneecap with a hammer just because she paid too much attention to a baby she was looking after. Whenever he returned from his army postings, he would falsely accuse her of cheating and physically assault her. He even shot Kim in the groin with a crossbow because he thought her dress was too short. While still in school, Kim often lied about her injuries to protect Philpott. After 2 years of abuse, in July 1978, Kim finally gathered the courage to send Philpott a break-up letter. In response, he went absent without leave from the army and broke into Kim's home. He attacked her while she was in bed, stabbing her 27 times with a 9-inch knife. According to Kim, he menaced her, saying, "If I can't have you, no one else will." When Kim's mother tried to help, Philpott stabbed her 11 times. Both Kim and her mother barely survived the attack, despite their severe injuries. Kim's mother, a nurse, crawled to the phone and called for help. Paramedics arrived and found Philpott on the stairs, still holding the bloody knife. He told them, "I wouldn't bother. She's a goner. I did a good job on her." Kim actually died twice, once in the ambulance and once on the operating table, while the surgeons tried to save her life. Philpott had slashed her stomach and stabbed her in the back, arms and legs. She suffered from collapsed lungs and injuries to her bladder, kidney and liver. During the trial, he lied and claimed he stabbed her in self-defense, but all the evidence showed he was guilty. Philpott received a guilty verdict for attempted murder and serious bodily harm. He got a sentence of 7.5 years in prison, but according to records, he was released after just 3 years and 2 months due to good behaviour. He faced little consequence for his actions and had no reason to change his behaviour. While in prison, he wrote letters to Kim expressing remorse and even asked to marry her after he got out. This horrific attack left Kim traumatised, and she continues to receive counselling. After Mick got out of prison in 1986, Philpott married Pamela Lomax. They had 3 children together, and he kept being abusive. Pamela felt too scared to report to him, knowing how he had treated his previous partner, Kim. She hoped he would find someone else, and he did. In 1993, at 37, Philpott began dating a 14-year-old girl named Heather Keogh. Pamela left him when she found out about the affair. Heather ran away from her parents to be with him on her 16th birthday, and they had 2 sons together. Philpott was abusive toward her, even hitting her for not giving him a girl. He also encouraged his older sons to be violent towards Heather. Philpott wanted Heather to have more children, but she could not conceive again. He often punished her by locking her outside in the garden. She told police that Philpott once held a knife to her throat when she tried to leave. Eventually, she managed to escape by climbing over the fence, but had to temporarily leave her children before getting custody back. After a long court battle, she described Philpott as a Jekyll and Hyde character. He seemed charming when they first met, but became violent later. In 2000, Philpott met 19-year-old Mairead Duffy, a single teenage mother who had just escaped an abusive relationship. She said Philpott became her guardian angel. They moved in together shortly after, and he took responsibility for her son. He proposed to her in the hospital after the birth of their first child, Jade. The following year, he started a relationship with Lisa Willis, a 16-year-old orphan who was also a single mother. Lisa became his mistress and moved in with him and Mairead. Because of Philpott's controlling nature, Lisa and Mairead grew very close. They often confided in each other, and Lisa said she treated Mairead's children as her own. There was clearly a pattern. All women in Philpott's life had been teenagers when they met him and had been groomed while they were vulnerable. Philpott married Mairead in May 2003 with Lisa as the bridesmaid. From that year on, Philpott lived with both women and fathered 11 children in a 3-bedroom council house. Both women worked while he stayed unemployed, taking their earnings and government benefits. Philpott actively tried to have more children to increase his benefit payments. He asked for a larger council house to fit his growing family, but was denied due to a lack of availability.
Today I want to discover the man behind the headlines and uncover the truth about the guy who has been branded Britain's biggest scrounger.
Listen, you're going to criticise my family, pal, and my kids. I'll criticise you as much as I want.
Sorry,
this is a free country.
Philpott sought media attention for his housing situation. He appeared on The Jeremy Kyle Show in 2007, a programme similar to The Jerry Springer Show. On the show, he defended his lifestyle and unemployment, claiming he could not find a job because of media coverage and his criminal record. He became agitated when questioned about his parenting and job prospects, leading to an argument with the host, Jeremy. During the show, Philpott insisted he had undergone a vasectomy. He defended himself passionately, making an offensive gesture and telling the host to talk to that. Philpott introduced his wife, Mairead, and his second wife, Lisa Willis, on the show, openly acknowledging his unconventional living arrangement. He claimed he did not care what the public thought about his lifestyle and large family. Philpott even said he was willing to divorce Mairead to marry Lisa, just so Lisa would not feel left out for not sharing the Philpott family name. He went on to have 2 more children and earned the title of Britain's biggest scrounger after it was revealed he received £25,000 a year in benefits. However, his plan to gain public support for a larger house failed. In 2007, Philpott appeared in a documentary where Anne Widdecombe, a Conservative MP, spent a week with him. She tried to convince him to change his lifestyle. Widdecombe found Philpott 3 jobs, but he missed the first day of work at a barrel-making company, so he lost that job. In the documentary, Philpott lived in a caravan in his garden, where his wife and mistress took turns staying with him. The MP said that Philpott did not care about anyone, using derogatory terms to describe both women. She also observed that none of his children showed him affection, and many wondered why the women in his life accepted their situation. Most people believed that his partners got along well, but tensions among them had grown intense behind closed doors. Philpott stated that his kids and family were all that mattered to him. He mentioned his children, saying he had 3 from his first marriage, 2 from another relationship, and more on the way. That made a total of 15, plus 2 more coming, and 1 he had never met from his time in the armed services. In 2010, police cautioned Philpott for slapping Mairead and dragging her outside by her hair. He was also abusive toward Lisa, hitting her with a piece of wood, throwing hot coffee at her, and preventing her from leaving the house or talking to other men. By February 2012, Lisa could no longer tolerate the toxic situation. She told Mairead she was taking her 5 children swimming, but instead she moved in with her sister to avoid a confrontation. 3 months after Lisa left, Philpott remained furious and was involved in a bitter custody fight for their 5 children. Along with Mairead and a friend named Paul Moseley, Philpott planned a horrific act. They decided to burn down their home with the children inside and blame Lisa for it. They timed the arson for the day before a custody hearing, hoping to regain custody of the children for financial gain and to secure a larger council house. The plan involved Philpott and Moseley pouring gasoline through the mail slot and igniting the house. Philpott wanted to appear as a hero by rescuing his 6 children from the fire. On May 11, 2012, at 4 a.m., Philpott's plan to set fire to his house went horribly wrong. The fire spread faster than anyone expected. Tragically, 5 children died at the scene, while their half-brother Dwayne passed away in the hospital 2 days later. All the children died from smoke inhalation. Investigators reported that temperatures in the upstairs bedrooms reached over 500 degrees Celsius, making survival impossible. The police confirmed that the fire was intentionally started with petrol and classified it as arson, officially labeling it as the murder of 6 children. All of these children belonged to Mairead and Philpott, except for Dwayne, who was Mairead's teenage son from a past relationship. The community had no idea that a father could do something so terrible. Many people who knew Philpott and his family defended his way of life, saying that the negative views of the area did not match reality. One local man, Bobby Sutherland, felt inspired to start a charity to help pay for the funerals of the 6 children, claiming that Philpott loved them. He fought back tears as he stood outside the burned family home, saying, "People can say bad things about him, but he loved his kids. Yes, he made mistakes, but no one deserves this. Nobody deserves that." This shows how well Philpott manipulated the people around him and kept up his image as a good husband and father. Initially, Lisa Willis and her brother-in-law faced questioning, but they quickly proved they had nothing to do with it. Meanwhile, witnesses noted that Philpott acted strangely for someone who just lost several children and seemed to enjoy the media attention. A mortuary manager said Philpott even joked around when he came to see his children's bodies, including putting a family liaison officer in a headlock during one visit. As part of the investigation, police organized a press conference where Philpott and Mairead spoke. At this conference, Philpott thanked various people for their support and announced their decision to donate Dwayne's organs to help save another child. He expressed gratitude for the community's support and asked for privacy, telling everyone to direct their questions to the police. This press conference actually raised police suspicions. Philpott's behavior was very odd, including flirting with a female police officer. She reported that he called her gorgeous and hinted that he wanted her to visit him at his hotel. He said, "We really appreciate everyone who has been concerned about what has happened. I've been to our home, and what we saw there was overwhelming. We grew up in a community with a lot of violence and problems, and to see everyone come together like this is just incredible." The police found forensic evidence that connected the Philpotts to the crime. They discovered a petrol container and a glove discarded near the house. In November, forensic investigators found petrol on the clothes of Philpott and Moseley. To gather more information, they placed a recording device in the police vehicle and their hotel room. The recordings revealed incriminating statements from Philpott, where he admitted it was his fault they'd lost their children. He said things like, "You're definitely sticking with the story. I didn't mean to do it, on my life." The recordings also captured Philpott watching Mairead perform a sexual act on Paul Moseley. Philpott told his wife, "I'm proud of you because you didn't want to do it. Tell me what you said to him about Amazon and ladders. What did you say about me trying to get in? You tried everything you could to get in that sense. It's my fault we lost our children." In police interviews, Moseley admitted to having sex with Mairead over a snooker table hours before the fire started. It is believed that Philpott encouraged this act to keep Moseley loyal. Philpott even confessed to having 3 or 4 sexual encounters with his wife and co-defendant Paul Moseley shortly after their children's deaths. These recordings, along with other evidence like an unused ladder found at the back of the house meant for a planned rescue, also pointed to Philpott, Mairead and Paul Moseley being involved in the arson plot. On May 28, 2012, the police arrested Philpott and Mairead on suspicion of murder. They were formally charged with murder 2 days later, on November 5, 2012. Paul Moseley was also arrested on suspicion of murder after forensic tests showed petrol on his clothing. The trial revealed that Moseley boasted to several people about being a suspect, even on dating sites. Regardless of Moseley's role, Philpott seemed eager to keep him on his side, and the police believed coercion might have played a part. In December, the charge against Moseley was reduced to manslaughter. The murder charges against Philpott and Mairead were eventually lowered to manslaughter as well. Evidence indicated that although they did not intend to kill their children, they plotted to blame Lisa for endangering the family to gain custody of her children. Their motivation included financial benefits from having more children and the possibility of a bigger house. On April 2, 2013, the couple and Paul Moseley were found guilty of manslaughter for the deaths of the 6 children. Philpott received a life sentence with a minimum of 15 years in prison. Mairead and Paul Moseley each received 17-year sentences with a minimum of 8.5 years to serve. Mairead later appealed her sentence, but the judges determined that the original term reflected the immense harm she caused. The Court of Appeal judges stated that the petrol found on her clothes showed she took part in starting the fire, which was not a spontaneous plan. They also noted that she lied after her arrest and continued to conceal the truth during her trial. In her sentencing comments, Mrs. Justice Thirlwall stated that while the fire was clearly Philpott's idea, Mairead's children died because she prioritized her husband. Mairead was released after serving half of her sentence. She qualified for release on license and was taken by convoy to a halfway house. For her protection, Mairead also received a new identity. The Centre for Crime Prevention criticized her release as shocking and called for killers to serve their full sentences for such serious crimes. Paul Moseley also got released from prison in May 2021 after serving half of his sentence, but returned to prison in 2022 for breaching the terms of his parole. He was released again in November 2023. The parole panel stated they were satisfied that keeping him in prison was no longer necessary for public safety. While Mairead and Moseley are free, Philpott remains in prison completing his minimum sentence of 15 years. Philpott is seen as a monster, abusive to women and exploitative of the welfare system, who primarily viewed children as a way to make money. Psychologist Glenn Wilson described Philpott as a clinical psychopath and exhibitionist with antisocial personality disorder. What do you think of this terrible case and all those involved? Do you believe their sentences were too lenient? Philpott certainly received a light sentence for his attempted murder charge in the 70s. Do you think these deaths could have been avoided if the justice system had been stricter back then? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to see more videos like this, please like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any true crime videos. See you in the next one.